Okay, I'm confused. Whether it be an SUV or a CUV, the emphasis is always on that middle U, because no matter what name is on it, they all have the exact same mission, and that is to shoehorn as many people, as many dogs, and as much crap as possible into your U vehicle. However, as of late, there seems to be growing popularity with these things that are sort of middle-sized, only 2 rows, and flashier looking. So, to dissect this phenomenon, if you could call it that, I found one from Germany, really by way of Tennessee, that looks a little bit fancier to better understand why people are going for less U. Being the Volkswagen with a V6 engine, it can pull a bit better than that EA AAA that's become ubiquitous in the Volkswagen group. But I have a struggle with this one because I don't know if I would pay the extra for the V6. Yeah, there's a noticeable difference, but it's not like, oh my God, this is a fire-breathing monster like that 434 horsepower Macan Turbo. You would pay extra for that. This, the acceleration is good, but it's not a must-have. Now, as an aside to that, the case for the V6 is more in the numbers. So that 4-cylinder, that's rated at 2,000 pounds towing. Not a hell of a lot on a side-by-side or an ATV. This, 5,000 pounds. Probably a small boat, maybe a classic car, but not a big one. So the obvious question, what is the difference between an Atlas and an Atlas Cross Sport? And to answer that, we need to look at the basic Atlas because they share the exact same platform. They're even made on the same factory line in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And really the difference is they fall into dimensions, design, and packaging. Let's look at dimensions first. This is 5.5 inches shorter. That's overall length. Wheelbase exactly the same. Remember, they sit on the same platform. It's 2.2 inches lower. And then we get into the design. This one is the obvious biggest difference here. It's got a D-pillar that sits at a more raked angle, so it's cooler looking. I'll let you be the judge of that. The front changes, I don't want to say significantly, it's more softer edges than a 7-passenger Atlas. And granted, they did update the 7-passenger a bit as well, but there's still a differentiation here. And then there is the packaging. All that design and dimensions have an impact here that you cannot package an extra 2 people in this vehicle because it's shorter and it has no headroom because of the raked D-pillar. So at the end of the day, it's less U, like we talked about at the beginning of this episode, but it is think of it as a trade-off. Rather than form follows function, it's form or function. The steering isn't significantly different with the shorter length of the vehicle wheelbase. The only real noticeable difference in steering is not between Cross Sport and regular Atlas, it's V6 to 4-cylinder. The ones you and I have driven before, most of them have been the 4-cylinder. This is one of 2 times I've driven the V6, and the torque steer is significantly more apparent in the V6 than that 4-cylinder. Now before we get started here, a bit of a side note. There are modes. I haven't fooled with it because it has nothing to do with the suspension in this vehicle, maybe a little bit on the steering, but for this purpose, just gonna push it hard and hold on for dear life. Here we go. And let's get top of the hill, missing our Macan from an episode or 2 ago, and oh my God, there is no composure whatsoever. Still not as bad as like a Passport or an Edge, but let's end strong here, aggressively. So that was something unexpected. A strong finish, mainly because of the high curb weight. That 4,500 pounds over that broken pavement does improve the ride quality, even though there isn't significant composure. Yes, it is indeed that time again to play your favorite game and mine, the options game, with today's contestant. Something we have not seen on the game in a long while, a Volkswagen, and I don't think we've ever seen one this expensive ever on the game. So belt in for the 2020 Atlas Cross Sport, $49,795. Now that is a bit shocking, but I'm kind of sandbagging you here because this is the fanciest one on offer for 3 reasons. Number 1, that's a V6. Number 2, that is an SEL highest trim level. And number 3, it has a dressy package called the R-Line. Changes a couple of things, makes it a little bit sportier. That's why it's almost 50 grand. If it had none of those things, it'd be about 32 grand. The cheapest, a V6, is about 39 grand. But let's press on. There really is only one factory option, and that is the paint. Pure gray looks stunning on this car, especially with the 2-tone contrasting interior. And I'd like to point out, I've never driven a car ever in my life, and you know I drive a lot of different cars, where I have driven on the freeway and I've seen the exact car I'm driving, color and everything, on not 1 but 2 billboards. I guess that's a benefit for paying extra for the paint, $395. To that, we add 2 accessories, something we never get on the cars because we get the cars from the factory, not from dealers, but there are 2 dealer-installed accessories here. One is a trunk mat. Now, being this is a baby buggy, I would argue this is more of a cargo liner. Either way, it's $130. Let me press on to something I find very interesting because I'm a skier. The mats, normally I get very pissed off that they charge extra, especially on a $50,000 car for mats. But these are rubberized, they're kind of corrugated, if that's what you call it, and they have the Atlas logo in them. But that's not why they're cool. They're cool because A, if you are a skier, these are ideal for cold weather climates, and B, the name. They're called Monster Mats, $105. Then the only other thing we add is a very high destination and handling fee. I don't know why we're seeing so many of these. The GTR had it as well, but this doesn't have to come from an exotic locale. This comes from Chattanooga, or as the Germans call it, Chattanooga, $1,020. For a full retail price of $51,445. Now, wasn't Volkswagen saying something about these being cheaper than Touaregs? After that round of the options game, I need to vent a bit here because we just learned this thing is 50 grand. Now, I am a huge fan of the design of the interiors of Atlas, have been since they came out, and mainly because of UX. Knobs here, real switches here, all better looking, easier to use, but more importantly, contributes to a safer driver, something I am very adamant about nowadays. But it's not the build quality, it's the trim pieces, this and this. There's no nice way to put it, it's just chintzy crap. Now, Volkswagen has proven they can make a better version of this. The problem was the car was very expensive, it didn't compete in the market, other people bought cheaper cars, so they came out with this. I get it. But this is expensive again. 50 grand. It would take, what, $200? You know what? No. Real raw materials to fix this and even down here, maybe 20 bucks? That's raw materials. But let's be generous. Let's say it would be $500 to fix all this and make it a really proper German car interior. Do you really think it's going to make a difference in the sales of a $50,000 vehicle if you tack on 500 bucks? And even this, it goes from 30 is the low end. This is the fancy one. I don't think it would make a big difference down there. Maybe less fanciness down here, more fanciness up here, and $250 on the basic car, $500 on this one. Think of that as like a suggestion, an open suggestion to the folks in Wolfsburg. While you and I were driving and talking, Kumo did a bit of research into this segment, which for the avoidance of doubt is a 2-row 5-passenger crossover. Now, a couple interesting things came out of that research. Number 1, this is not considered a mid-sized vehicle to the U.S. government. That's some confusion that we also had in the Hyundai Santa Fe episode. That's not considered a mid-size either. I get it. They look mid-size, but technically by size and classification, they're not. And then number 2, in looking at all the different manufacturers' research, not just Volkswagen, Ford, Toyota, I think we looked at Honda as well. It's looking like the reason why these sell, meaning less utility, less packaging, meaning less people back here, less dogs, less stuff, like we talked about at the beginning of the episode, is these make up half of crossover sales. That's the reason why people buy the, well, I won't say why they buy them, but that's the proof that they sell, and why Volkswagen and then Honda recently did with the Passport in taking a vehicle that was originally packaged for 7 people and making it shorter and packaging it for 5 people. And when I first went on this exercise, I thought it was about money, because you know me, I'm a whole, you know, no debt Dave Ramsey kind of a guy. I thought maybe people are just trying to save money, but then I saw the price of this thing, 50 grand for this one, even a basic one, 32 grand. But if you think about it, there are other 3-row kind of this size vehicle out there that can be had for the same money, like the Telluride, like the Palisade. So I don't think it's a money thing. And that's where, if I'm really taking a stab at this, the market is in these 2 rows, 5-passenger crossovers, and that's why the likes of Volkswagen and Honda and others continue to serve that market, which answers the question. It's not all about utility. It's not all about how many Kumos you can fit in this thing, which I'm frankly surprised about, because if it were me, I would want something bigger to be able to put Kumo and Andy and other friends of his in the vehicle, or put more skis and friends in it. But I am just one man that's not really practical to package human beings, more about toys and dogs. Anyway, that's what we found out. And I gotta tell you, I did like this more than I originally thought. Like, it's a baby buggy, I'm not that excited about these kind of things, but out of the recent ones I've driven, this is definitely on the higher end of the driving dynamics spectrum. So I'm going to turn this around to you guys and solicit feedback for folks who have kids and mother-in-laws, and how do you package your people in these things? Did you buy the 5-passenger or did you buy the 7-passenger, and why? And also let me know what region of the world you hail from. Let me know in the comments below or via our social media. MotoManTV, all one word, MotoManTV, all one word, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And I do have to say, while it was lovely to be practical with you for this episode, I did actually like this better than I thought I would, in terms of like a driving dynamic spectrum of 2-row, 5-passenger crossovers. It's kind of like middle to high end of that spectrum. I mean, a 911, it ain't. So with that, until I see you next time, hopefully something more along those lines than these lines. Bis später. What a terrible horn. Oh my God, this guy just pulled out right in front of me. Look at this. From the right side of the road right into the left lane. What a jackass, but why take me seriously with a horn like that? Come on, please, Volkswagen. You updated the logo, but why downgrade the horn?